to be honest, I was a little disappointed with what I saw across the board, both from what's happening in the eastern side and what's happening on the western side. I think I mentioned to you earlier about some of the buildings, which is suppose happening in some of our towns or cities, that even business people have now gone into sleep. There's no sense of pride in keeping a business painted and maintained. But I think as a place that one grew up still, well, it's grown. There's a lot of B&Bs and there's restaurants to go to. So at least that part, I think it's grown. That's a very positive thing. But in terms of infrastructure and the look and feel of the place, I think I felt disappointed.
Yeah.
It's the history, it's the heritage, it's the culture, it's the people. And I mean, I think the one thing is to walk up the street and people know who you are, sort of thing, or they sort of recognize you from, oh, it's her, sort of thing, and which I don't get anywhere else. I suppose that's, in that way, it feels like home.
Yeah.
And I meet people, some of them I can't recognize because life has taken its toll. Some of them I can recognize, and some of them I have to explain who I am. And it's like an interesting thing. I do take now and again, go for walks around town so that I get to, which is not something I do during the day. I'll do where I live. So it's nice, a small town. You can go to the shop, you can walk to the bank, stand in the queue, sort of thing. It's been, I mean, I think it's been an interesting period. And you see, I had to do two things at the same time. One is to find out what the problem is, at the same time trying to fix the problem. And the expectations have been very high, from a number of people. And having not worked in local government in a long time, you forget the closeness to the people, that people can just walk in and say, we've got a problem. And quite a few people have walked in and said this and that, which does affect your plan, how you plan your day, and what you do during the day and what you achieve in a short space of time. Basically, my starting point is what is the municipality meant to be doing, and is it doing it, and what are the challenges? And that has been what has occupied my time in the last month and a half. There's action. At the same time, there's no action. So people come to work every day, but you don't necessarily see. In some places, I'm not saying everybody, I think there's a small kind of culture thing that over time, in the absence of money, people have started to forget what is it that they come to work for. And with time, it has resulted in a kind of level of lethargy that you wouldn't expect in any institution. Whether you can solve that in 6 months, I don't think so. And part of my thing in the 6 months is to set the systems and the framework for anybody to come. Okay, people,
from a point of view.
Okay, people get sick a lot, and people are writing exams. Somehow everybody is registered for some. There's nothing wrong with education, but everybody's studying. You'll be surprised how many people are on study leave in the 2 months that I've been here. So everybody's writing exams. Everybody is if they're not writing exams, they're not feeling well. And for me, those are the basic things. If you look at any organization, one of the things that you look at to see how healthy the culture is or how healthy that organization is, you look at, from a human resource point of view, you look at the level of absenteeism, how many people get sick, how many people get at work, or away from work, should I say. And then the next linked thing then it becomes your overtime. Because the more colleagues are not there, the more I can work. And I'm looking at the issue of overtime very carefully. It's in the first quarter, we're already at 58% of budget. Something is not going right. Is to start seeing how we're going to get the community to play its part in reporting some of the stuff. So take a picture of a municipal worker at 11:30 who is sitting and not doing their work. And we need to then, from our side, the commitment that I have in the time that I'm here, is that if you send me a picture of somebody who is not doing what they're supposed to do, who is sitting somewhere when they're supposed to be at work, that thing will be acted on. And that's a message I wanted to give internally first to the local labor forum. I want to tell people this is it's no longer business as usual. We all contribute towards the success or the failure of this town or this municipality. Yeah, there's a number of things that affect people's morale, and interestingly, research says pay is not the highest.
Oh.
Not necessarily in this organization, I'm saying theoretically. But it's how you treat them, it's the culture, it's how things get done. And if you are in a crisis mode, you're bound to be, people are going to say, why do I bother? And eventually, even your most committed people, they don't see a problem if they don't come on time, because I'm the only one who's early. I was, the other day, after the rain, I walked into the front of the building. And I'm not going to say who. I called the manager, I was sitting. I walked in, it was dirty. So I go to the manager, he's sitting on his computer, and I say, okay, please come with me. And then so we go. I said, which entrance did you use coming here? He says, this one. I said, can you look what's happening? He says, okay, what do you see? It's dirty. But I said, this function falls under you. You walk in this entrance and it's dirty and it doesn't say anything to you. And that's the thing. I mean, driving up here today, just looking on the road and the grass that's starting to grow, and I would want tomorrow to drive with the managers and see, what do they see? Maybe there's something that we're missing, that people don't see these things that are dirty, that we've got a particular eye that they don't have. Yeah. So I need to understand from their perspective. I think some of it can be caused by the institution, but I think it also goes back to the person. I mean, we're all employed for whatever reason. You can't always blame someone else for the fact that you haven't combed your hair this morning. Yeah. There was a time as growing up as an activist where we used to say the system. Everything was the system. But now, I mean, really, there are things that the system can't do. And if younger people say that, we'll understand. But people my age shouldn't be able to say the system. Should know that in the morning you comb your hair. Okay, let me talk about Gabu's report. I was given the report by the province when I got here, and they said read it and decide what to do with it, and which I have done. And I looked at it. At the same time, I was getting higher requests for the report. I can't go into the merits, because as you understand, it's an investigation. I needed to understand, because part of the thing that was said was that the way it was commissioned was not properly done. So I've satisfied myself that is not the case now. It was, I've interviewed the people that commissioned the report. I've looked at the resolution that was passed by council about doing the investigation. I've looked at the role of part of my meeting today with the people at Gaba, so as to say, just from your side, what's your understanding, so that I can compare to what we have here. The problem with the report is that they found there were allegations. They went and found things, but then there were certain people that were implicated but they never went back to them to say, what do you say? This is our finding, what do you say? So if you know, and people are calling for it to be made public, but you can't, if it turns out that those people have got a defense on those things, that's not my signature, for example. You need to close that loop before you can make such a document public. So what I'm doing now is to close that loop, to make sure that the people that are implicated, we present the findings to them, let them say, I never did that, I'd never do that, that's a fake report, somebody forged my signature, whatever the case may be. Then you finish the administrative process, then you can see what to do next. And if people can bear with me, that's where we are. I'm not covering it up. I've been nice up to now. I think the other side needs to come out now. We're gonna start to hear or see other things. I've just been very nice.
All right.
Which is my nature.
Okay.
I think everybody wants to genuinely find a solution. Councillors and officials. You see, for me, my take on these things is that it's not everybody that is the bad apple, but often there's a few of us that might have our own agendas and we taint everybody else. And I think, but I think there's too high expectations of what one can do. I think the councillors, there is a blame game between councillors and officials. The officials do say that it was the councillors, and the councillors say it's the officials, and suppose the truth lies in between. Everybody has played their part. I don't think everything will be fixed in 6 months. I think the diagnostic itself, and I'm starting to work on the plan, and I'm consulting on the plan. I've got meetings this Friday with some stakeholders, and the idea is that by the beginning of December I will say this is the intervention plan, and that is going to require resources, and those might or might not be there. But personally, I wouldn't want to go beyond 9 months.
Okay.
Otherwise, I become part of the problem. Or the problem.